So blessed on the corner of cacophony and divine. And that's our work here, to hold two opposite things in the container that is unity and oneness. That is our work, to see that it's all a continuum, that it's all a circle. So our theme this month is service to the world. And Ernest Holmes says, service is the keynote to success and implies constructive work. Also, loyalty to your work and to all concerned in it. Loyalty to your work and to all concerned in it. And our book for this month is an interesting book I'm reading called The 32 Keys. This was one recommended for our reading this month. And it is powerful and interesting, and it includes, science and religion and mysticism and all of these things. And the 32 keys, half of them, 16 are for your left brain and 16 are for your right brain. So it's about balancing the rational with the mystical. And so that's another wonderful thing that we can practice. And in it, it starts out in the introduction by saying, what did I come here to do that will leave the world a better place? What did I come here to do that will leave the world a better place? She says, change deals with effects, while transformation confronts the cause. Because transformation is about changing consciousness, and consciousness is causative. What we think matters. And what she says is, matter is birthed from the womb of thought. Matter is birthed from the womb of thought. And she says that this process has 4 steps. The first thought is the idea. We have an idea. The second thing is a feeling that goes with that idea. We get enthusiastic, we get excited, we get inspired. We have a feeling, a vibratory presence of that reality that we have in the idea. And then we have a belief. Now she says belief is the pattern that holds what is possible. And that's an interesting way to frame it, because belief is the pattern that holds what is possible, could be liberating or confining based on what our belief is. So part of what we do here in our work in classes is to uncover limiting beliefs so that we can release them and open to the infinite possibility that is absolutely available to us. And then action. The fourth step is action. And of course, action is what we do in the co-creation process to bring that thought, that idea, into form. So this week we're talking about service to the world. And this was a theme that came from Michelle Senegal, who is a minister in Baltimore. And she has created this thing called the World Day of Service, which for the rest of the movement is on September 10th. But because we have the Circle River cleanup on the 17th, I wrote to her and said, we're doing our service on the 17th, thank you very much. And she said, great, take some pictures and send them to us. So we are in service. And we've all been on service. If God is love and we are one with God, we're all in God, then our job here is to love. That's what we're here for. That's it. End of story. Let's all go home. But how does that love express? Expresses uniquely through each one of us. Some people love to work with numbers. Some people love to paint. Some people love to write. Some people love to garden. We all love different things. Different things inspire us. Different things make us enthusiastic, and things that we can all do are unique. And we start serving very young. I know about 6 or 7, I was in the Brownies. Remember them? Brownies were like junior Girl Scouts. When you had little brown uniforms instead of little green uniforms. And you got to salute with 2 fingers instead of 3, And you also did a pledge. And the pledge was, and I don't, it's been 60 years, so I don't remember. But, what I do remember this, on my honor, I will try to help other people every day, especially those at home. Right? Especially those at home. So that was our pledge as little children, to help out, to be a helpful person. And so it was an early thing to learn. And then, of course, I went into the work world, the business world. Of course, we did stuff in school. We had drives, clothing drives, can drives, things like that. When I was in school, high school and grammar school, whatever, we'd have drives of this and that and the other thing. And then when I went into the corporate world, we had like the blood bank would come to our corporate headquarters, and we'd all, give our blood. And we would make stockings for people to stuff with gifts that we could give to people. And we did, runs for the cure and walks for Alzheimer's. And, we did runs and walks, because that was like a big festive event. And we'd all get together and wear our corporate T-shirts, of course, and be out there, doing our community service. And then I started going to a Center for Spiritual Living in Corte Madera, and every year they had a Christmas tree, and the Christmas tree had little ornaments on it, and each ornament was for an individual in a family that was in a homeless shelter, that was trying to move into getting back into a home and life. And so we would buy gifts for the children, and clothing for children, and sometimes clothing for the parents as well. And so that was part of our service to the community. And I know that here, a lot of people are in service to our community. I mean, the Divines organize the hospitality house feast. Once a month, we serve the 54 individuals at the homeless shelter. And it's men, women, and sometimes children at that center. And we also get involved in lots of other things. Patty Galley is helping the pets of homeless people. She's helping to feed the pets of homeless people or take them to the vet or things like that, because that's what she was called. The thing about service is we get something strikes us and we think, oh, I need to do something. Well, Lily Tomlin said, I used to wonder, why doesn't somebody do something about that? And then I realized I was somebody. I was somebody. If I saw that there was a need, perhaps I could be the one to fulfill that need. Mother Teresa, who is becoming a saint, or has already become a saint already today, she didn't start out to say, oh, I'm going to found this, order of nuns who is going to serve the poorest of the poor. She just saw some people in need and went out to help. And then ended up forming a whole community of people. And her service didn't just serve the people that she served as an inspiration to others to serve. They interviewed a man on the radio this morning who was at her sainthood ceremony. I don't know what they call it, but anyway, they were having the ceremony at the Vatican where they declare her a saint. And they interviewed a Hindu man who was there from Calcutta. And he said, everybody in Calcutta knew her. And he said, I'm a Hindu and I follow the Hindu practices, but I was inspired by her. I was inspired by her. So it doesn't matter, it's beyond religion. It's about being a beneficial presence on the planet, doing what is ours to do. I read a story on Facebook. I'm going to have to start tithing to Facebook, you know. Because that's what we do. We tithe to those things that inspire us, that give us spiritual nourishment, right?
I don't think Facebook needs our tithes.
It's not about them. It's about me. See, tithing is about me giving to the source of my spiritual food. And so there was a story about a man in Brazil. He'd been homeless for 35 years, living in filth and squalor on an island, and he called it the island, and it was an island because it was, in the middle of a highway. Cars going by on either side, and there he is, under a tree. And every day he found what he could, scraps of paper, because he was writing. He was writing poems. He was writing stories. He just wrote all day long. And people would walk by, and they'd see him, and they'd just pass him by. They didn't see him. He was just another homeless person. But this one woman saw him and thought, I want to talk to this guy. So she started talking to him. And after a while, they would have a little chit-chat, and then after a while, he gave her one of his poems. And she was impressed by this poem, so she decided to build a Facebook page and start publishing his poems on Facebook. So she did. And then other people had been reading these Facebook posts, so they started stopping by and saying hi to him. Now the thing is, this guy is filthy. This guy's hair hasn't been washed or cut in so long. It's huge dreads, huge dreadlocks that are like in a pile on his back. I mean, he is not the kind of guy you would think, oh, I'm going to go talk to him. But here he is writing poetry. And he signs his poetry, The Conditioned. He said, hope is a very heavy burden. But he carried it. And he had just that will to do what was his to do, which was to write and to write and to write. And so she kept putting the poems on. A few weeks later, his brother came forward. He had been lost for these 35 years. His family didn't know where he was. His brother found him. His brother took him in. And this young woman is working with him to get his poetry and short stories published. His life has transformed because someone answered the call to say, you should talk to this guy. You should talk to this guy. And it actually has a picture of this beautiful young woman kissing this guy who is really scruffy on the forehead. It was like there was something connected there, something reaching out. I have a little sign in my house that says, if only all the hands that reach could touch. If only all the hands that reach could touch. And then there's a guy in San Francisco, his name is Kevin Adler, and he's in the city. And he went around one Christmas with a video camera and a microphone, and he went up to homeless people and he said, is there a relative that you would like to send a Christmas message to? And so he says, We asked every homeless person we met if they would like to record a holiday message to a loved one. That's how we met Jeffrey. He recorded a video to his sister, which we posted on Facebook. Within 1 hour, Jeffrey's sister was tagged in the post. Within weeks, $5,000 was raised by his hometown. Within a month, Jeffrey was on the phone with his sister for the first time in 20 years. Another one was that they partnered with the St. Anthony Foundation, which, if you know, in San Francisco, St. Anthony has been feeding the poor and the homeless for as long as I've been alive, and that's a long time. A long time. And so they have partnered with them, and they met this guy named Johnny, and he did a video message, and 3 weeks after posting this video, Johnny's 4 siblings and their families flew out to reunite with their brother, who we later discovered had been a missing person for 22 years. They've recorded 70 messages. They now have a little organization of volunteers called Miracle Messages. So they recorded 70 messages, and 30 of them have been delivered, and there have been 15 reunions. And the average separation time is 20 years. And the average time to locate a loved one is 3 weeks. And 90% of the loved ones have responded positively. So that's a great thing. What a unique way to try to end the homeless problem. Let people know where these people are. They've just lost track, and some of them, they're mentally ill, or they're addicted, or they're just lost. And connecting them with the family, is a way to get them off the street. What a great idea. When I went to see Matthew Fox a couple of weeks ago in Auburn, he said, what we've lost is our sense of nobility. That we are noble beings, that we are noble hearts. I think that's what attracts people to Buddhism, because they talk about nobility. They talk about the noble truths. They talk about living a noble life. Let us think about what that means, that we are these noble beings, and to remember that nobility that we are, that we have. And our service doesn't have to be, a big deal affecting lots of other people. Here in our community, you might say, well, look, I'm not going to be walking up to homeless people. I'm sorry, that's not my thing. But, you could say, well, I'm an introvert. I don't really feel comfortable around strangers. Well, do PowerPoint. Press buttons. It's service. Believe me, we need it. We need somebody to press those buttons. We need somebody to create the PowerPoint. You don't have to do anything here to do that at all. You can do that in the privacy of your home, bring it in, plug it in, and ba-boom, you're done. But if you are a person who likes other people, you could come and pass out bulletins and say hi to people. Or maybe you like to have a big garden and you arrange flowers, and how wonderful that is. And so there's all kinds of ways to serve. And there's ways to serve that are just one-on-one as well. Albert Schweitzer said, at times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. So sometimes our service is just to our family or to our friends. It's just reminding them of how great they are. I went out for a walk last night, and I met this friend, Leanne, who used to help me out in the office, and she lives in my neighborhood, and she walks rigorously, faithfully every day, a couple of miles. And I met her, and I was walking, and she said, good for you. You know, she was like, you're out there, you made it out, you're walking, you're doing great, you know, getting up. I mean, she was so enthusiastic, so I was like, okay, I'm going to do another route. I'm going to go round again. You know? Because, you know, she was just so enthusiastic about my doing what I was doing. So we can do that. We can all do that. But be in service to the world. Be in service to the world. There's a Chinese proverb. If you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a month, get married. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. If you want happiness for a lifetime, help someone else. Help someone else. So our affirmation for today is, I am a beneficial presence on the planet. 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 And so it is.